I used to believe that love meant sacrifice, that if I just gave a little more, time, patience, forgiveness, they'd finally see me. That my worth would be recognized if I kept showing up, holding the family together, staying late at work, biting my tongue when it burned to scream. But all it ever got me was exhaustion. He, the man I cooked for, covered for, cried over, he'd laugh when I asked for help. "You're better at this stuff anyway," he'd say. "Don't be so dramatic." And when I begged for kindness, he'd look at me like I was a burden, not a person. "You're lucky I put up with you," he told me once, smiled when he said it, like I should be grateful to be dismissed. And for a while, I believed him. I let myself become invisible. A background character in my own life, always useful, never valued. Always present, never seen. But something changed. It wasn't one moment, it was 100 small heartbreaks that finally bled into clarity. And now I see the truth. I've been setting myself on fire to keep others warm, and I'm done burning. Hi, I'm Elena, and this is the last time I let someone mistake my kindness for weakness. This is where I begin. I remember the exact moment my world cracked open. It was a Thursday night, quiet, uneventful, like so many before it. The kids were asleep, the dishes done, and I had just settled into bed with a book when my phone buzzed. A simple message from my husband. "Don't wait up, conference running late, love you." That was all it said. 10 words. And yet, somehow my gut twisted. He was supposed to be at a marketing retreat upstate. Something corporate and dull, team-building exercises, lectures, endless coffee. But something about the text didn't sit right. Maybe it was the punctuation. Or maybe it was because this was the 3rd conference this quarter. And his last trip had ended with his shirt reeking of a perfume I didn't wear. I'd been trying to silence the voice in my head for months. That nagging whisper that told me something wasn't right. The longer hours, the colder kisses, the sudden bursts of laughter at messages I never got to see. I had become invisible in my own marriage, reduced to an obligation he kept on autopilot. Still, I tried to trust him. But that night, lying there alone in our bed, I decided to follow that whisper. Not because I was looking for trouble, but because I already knew it had found me. I opened our shared laptop, the one he rarely used anymore. My fingers hovered over the keys, trembling, hesitating. I wasn't trying to be a snoop. I was trying to protect my sanity. I needed to know if I was imagining things, or if the man I had built a life with was actually tearing it down behind my back. What I found confirmed everything. He hadn't logged out of his email. There, buried in his inbox, was a confirmation from a boutique hotel in Charleston. Not upstate. Not the retreat center his assistant had emailed me about. No, this was somewhere far more intimate. My heart pounded as I clicked on the email. 2 guests, a deluxe king suite, ocean view. Champagne, welcome. Then I found the photos. They were saved in his private folder, discreetly labeled presentations. But inside were no slides or charts, just pictures of her. Her smiling in a robe, holding a glass of wine. Her on the IE hotel balcony, draped in one of his t-shirts. Her asleep in bed, his arm curled possessively around her waist. My throat tightened. I couldn't breathe. I sat there in the dark, heart racing, the glow of the screen burning into my eyes. That was when I knew this wasn't just a fling. This was something deeper. Something deliberate. He hadn't just lied to me. He had replaced me, and he thought I would never find out. The betrayal was so sharp it felt physical, like a slap across the face. 10 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house we built from scratch. He threw it all away for her. That night, I didn't cry. Not right away. I sat frozen, staring at the proof. Something in me was changing, shifting. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to be the woman sobbing on the bathroom floor while he laughed in bed with someone else. No, I was going to be the woman who made sure. He regretted every single lie he told. I didn't know how just yet, but I knew one thing for certain. This story wasn't going to end with me broken. It was going to end with him exposed, and I would be the one writing the final chapter. The morning after discovering the photos, the world felt colder, sharper. The walls of my house, once warm with laughter and shared memories, now echoed with silence and betrayal. I watched our children eat breakfast, their innocent chatter a cruel contrast to the storm swirling in my chest. He came home that night, right on schedule, suitcase in hand, tie loosened, a quick kiss on the cheek, like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't just wrapped himself around another woman while texting me lies. "I'm exhausted," he sighed, collapsing onto the couch. That retreat was brutal. I stared at him, really looked at him, and I realized he didn't see me anymore. I wasn't a person to him, I was a fixture. Someone who made the meals, managed the calendars, and kept the house running while he played house somewhere else. "Did you learn anything at the conference?" I asked, my voice steady. He looked up, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Yeah, lots of good networking. The keynote was great. You know that woman from Boston I mentioned?" No. I didn't know, because she didn't exist. That was the first time I tasted the full weight of his deceit, not just the cheating, but the comfort he had in his lies. He wasn't just hiding it, he was living it. A double life, woven so tightly into ours that I'd been breathing it in for months without knowing. The days that followed were some of the hardest. I went through the motions, school drop-offs, work meetings, dinner. All the while, his lies played on a loop in my mind. The late meetings, the business trips, the way he'd turned away from me in bed for months, claiming stress. I saw it all for what it was now. A carefully managed performance. And the worst part? He thought he'd won. He thought he had gotten away with it, that I was so blind, so trusting, that I would never look behind the curtain. He had no idea I'd already seen everything. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to understand. The depth of the betrayal. How long had this been going on? Who was she? Was she just a fling, or someone he was planning to leave me for? I started digging. I checked our shared credit card statements. There were charges he'd clearly tried to hide. Dinners in cities he was supposedly not visiting, ride-share apps, from places he claimed he'd never been, and gifts, jewelry, spa appointments, none of which had ever ended up in my hands. I checked his calendar and compared it with my own notes and screenshots. His conferences never lined up with real events. He wasn't even trying to be that careful. He just assumed I would never question him, that I'd stay quiet, loyal, and unaware. That assumption was his first mistake. Because once I started looking, the lies unraveled like a thread pulled loose from a sweater. He had been seeing her for at least 8 months. 8 months of deception while I carried the weight of our family, our home, and the illusion of our marriage. I felt sick, but I also felt something else. Clarity. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about disrespect. It was about how easily he discarded me, thinking I'd never have the courage to stand up and fight for myself. He thought he could replace me and walk away unscathed. He was wrong. He didn't know that the woman he betrayed wasn't weak. She was calculating, patient, and now that she knew the truth, she wasn't going to sit back and let him live his fantasy without consequences. I was done playing the fool. He may have started this game, but I was going to finish it. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. When I stared at the photos of him and her, lounging like newlyweds in a hotel we could never afford on one income, something inside me snapped. This wasn't just personal betrayal. This was strategic sabotage. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized he wasn't just cheating on me. He was planning to leave me behind, completely, and take everything with him. We had built this life together, 2 kids, a mortgage, a joint business I helped launch, from the ground up while he focused on growth strategies. I did the bookkeeping, the contracts, the payroll. I took the kids to school while he schmoozed with clients and climbed ladders that I helped build. But I hadn't protected myself. Everything was in his name. The house, the accounts, even the LLC for the company. He said it was easier for tax purposes. "One name keeps it simple," he told me with a smile. kissing my forehead like I was a child who didn't understand adult matters. And I believed him, because I trusted him. Now all I could see was how carefully he had cornered me, like a magician who distracted the audience while setting up the final trick. I checked the bank activity. He had already moved over $30,000 into a separate account. Quiet withdrawals in small amounts, just under the radar. I never noticed because he timed it with business expenses. But now the pattern was clear. He was preparing to disappear, to walk away not just from me, but from our shared life. And leave me with nothing but legal headaches and a broken home. It wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. And I knew the timeline. He was going to do it after the holidays. He was stringing me along, keeping the peace, pretending, so he could deliver the blow when it would hurt the most. When the kids were emotionally vulnerable, when the year-end bonuses would be transferred, when I wouldn't see it coming. He had the nerve to plan a family vacation for Christmas, booked a cabin in Vermont. One last hurrah, I heard him whisper to someone on the phone. He didn't know I was standing in the hallway. I felt rage like I'd never known, cold, controlled, focused, because it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about our kids, about our future, about how he was willing to tear it all down just to chase a thrill. And how he thought I'd just fold quietly while he rebuilt his life with someone else, someone who didn't know what it meant to sacrifice for love. I saw how he looked at her in the photos, like she was the prize, and I wondered, did he ever look at me that way, or had I only ever been a stepping stone? No, I couldn't let him win, not like this, not when I had given so much. Not when I had poured everything I had into this marriage, while he plotted his exit behind my back. This mattered because I mattered, because my children deserve better than a father who lied and manipulated, because I wasn't just going to let him leave me in ruins while he played the hero in some new love story he didn't earn. He thought I didn't have the strength to fight back, that I was too soft, too naive. He forgot who I was. He forgot that I had helped build his kingdom, and I knew exactly where the cracks were. I had been silent for long enough. Now it was time to gather my strength, my proof, and my plan. He thought karma wouldn't find him. But karma had a name, and it was me. I didn't scream. I didn't throw his clothes out of the window. I didn't even confront him. Not yet. Because if I was going to do this, I had to do it smart, calculated, just like him. No emotional explosions, no impulsive moves. That would only give him the upper hand. I needed a plan, one that would hit him where it hurt, legally, financially, personally. He had spent months underestimating me, playing the loving husband in public while slowly carving me out of our life in private. But what he didn't know, what he never bothered to learn, was that I'd been paying attention. I knew the codes to his phone, the passwords to his cloud accounts. I set up most of them myself. I knew who our accountant was, our lawyer. I had every tax document, every business receipt, every shared investment saved and backed up on a secure drive he forgot existed. The first step was evidence, real, undeniable proof. I started with the photos, downloaded them, duplicated them, stored them in 3 separate locations, one on my personal drive, one with a lawyer friend I trusted, and one locked in a cloud account he didn't know existed. Next, I gathered financial records. I printed bank statements, highlighted every suspicious transaction. I found the private account he thought I'd never notice, and traced every dollar that had been funneled into it. Then, I checked the business, our business. He had registered it under his name, but I had written half the contracts. My name wasn't on the paperwork, but my fingerprints were on every detail. I kept screenshots, emails, timestamps, all proving that I had helped build it. I even had videos of meetings he recorded on our shared Zoom account, dozens of them, with me leading client calls, negotiating deals, solving crises. He thought because I didn't have a title, I didn't have a stake, but courts didn't care about titles. They cared about proof, and I was building a mountain of it. Then came the legal strategy. I reached out to a divorce attorney, one of the best in the city, not through email, not from my phone. I used a friend's laptop from a separate location with a throwaway account. I explained everything. She didn't blink. "He's trying to corner you," she said. But he's sloppy, and frankly, arrogant. She laid out the roadmap. We document everything, freeze any accounts he tried to drain, file a motion to gain temporary control of the marital assets, secure a forensic accountant to track every shady transaction, and, when the time was right, hit him with the full weight of the law. But there was more. Because while the financial and legal hit would sting, it wouldn't break him. The real blow would be to his image. He thrived on appearances. The doting father, the ambitious entrepreneur, the devoted husband. He'd built a reputation around it, a facade so polished that no one would believe what he'd done, unless they saw it for themselves. So I started documenting everything. Voicemails, texts, recordings of him lying to my face while I already had the proof in hand. I wasn't going to leak it recklessly. No, that wasn't me. But when the time came, I would let the truth speak for itself, to the people who mattered, our clients, our friends, our family. The plan wasn't to destroy him. It was to strip him of the lies he had hidden behind, to make sure everyone saw the real man he had become, the coward, the cheat, the manipulator. He wanted to leave me with nothing. I was going to leave him with only the truth and let it burn everything else to the ground. He had no idea what was coming, and that was exactly how I wanted it. The plan was in motion, but I knew planning was only half the battle. Execution would require patience, precision, and absolute control over my emotions. One wrong step, and he'd catch on. If he even suspected I was onto him, he'd move faster, shift accounts, erase data, manipulate the kids, twist the narrative. So I stayed quiet. Outwardly, I was the same supportive wife. I cooked dinner, laughed at his jokes, even agreed to his Vermont vacation plans like nothing was wrong. Inside, I was cold steel. The first thing I did was take steps to protect myself. I opened a separate bank account, one he couldn't access. I rerouted my paycheck from our business into that account. I also opened a credit card in my name only, just in case he cut me off financially the moment things turned. Then I found a secure place for all my evidence. A small storage unit under a separate name, where I kept printed records, backups of video calls, and legal documents. I even bought a burner phone to communicate with my attorney and the forensic accountant, who had already begun tracing the hidden transactions. Next came the digital sweep. I changed all my personal passwords, created new email addresses, backed up everything important. I installed a keylogger on our shared computer, not to spy, but to track anything he might try to delete or hide last minute. He had no idea I was watching. He was still carelessly emailing hotel confirmations to his personal inbox, still forwarding invoices from restaurants where he dined with her. That's when I found the final nail in his coffin, photos not from the hotel, but from a house. There's house. A mortgage document he accidentally forwarded to his own email, an application with both their names on it. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning a new life. A house in her hometown, 2 hours away. He was planning to disappear the moment he secured that house, move in, start fresh, and serve me with divorce papers after everything was in motion. Except now I was ahead, and I was done being silent. The next step was preparing the narrative, because in war, the person who controls the story often wins. I documented a full timeline, receipts, messages, audio clips. Then, I looped in 2 key allies, my sister and my best friend. They became my witnesses, my emotional anchors, and, if needed, my messengers. And then, I spoke to our children, not about the affair, but about truth, about resilience. They were young, but they understood that people don't always turn out to be who they seem. I didn't plant hatred. I planted strength. Then I made one final move. I scheduled a meeting with our biggest client, a man who had always respected me, who I had personally negotiated deals with, even though my husband took all the credit. I showed him the receipts, proof that I had done most of the legwork, the strategy, the management. I didn't say much else. I didn't trash my husband. I let the facts speak. The client looked at me, leaned back, and said, "If this ever goes sideways, I'll work with you, not him." It was done. Every piece of the puzzle was in place. The legal paperwork was ready, the financial traps were set, his character exposed, his house of lies, one gust away from collapse. I had done the work. And now, all that was left was the confrontation, the reckoning. The moment I would stop pretending. The moment he would see that the woman he thought was fragile, naive, and easy to fool was none of those things. It was a Friday night. He came home late, again, with the same tired excuse. Client dinner ran over. He kissed me on the cheek, tossed his jacket onto the couch, and poured himself a drink like everything was normal. It was almost impressive, the performance, the smug calmness in his voice. He truly believed he had me fooled. But this time, I was ready. I had set the scene carefully, the dining table cleared except for a single folder. The kids were with my sister. The air was still. He saw the folder, eyes narrowing slightly. "What's this?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. I met his gaze. "Sit down." He did, slowly. He opened the folder and saw everything. Printed photos, bank statements, the mortgage application with his and her names on it. He didn't speak. I watched his face drain of color. "You told me you were at a conference," I said quietly. "But you were in Stowe, Vermont. With her." Still, he said nothing. "I know about the house," I continued. "I know about the separate account. I know exactly when you plan to leave me." Finally, he found his voice. "This isn't what it looks like." "No," I said. "It's exactly what it looks like. You're just not used to getting caught." He stood abruptly, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "What are you trying to do, ruin me?" I laughed then, soft, bitter. "You ruined yourself." He lunged for the folder, but I pulled it away. "It's all copied," I said. "Sent to my attorney, the forensic accountant. And just so you know, our biggest client, he knows too. He said, and I quote, 'If this ever goes sideways, I'll work with you, not him.'" That stunned him. That hurt. "You can't do this," he snapped, "but I already have." And that's when the panic crept in. Not the loud kind, the quiet, suffocating kind. The realization that he had underestimated me, that I hadn't just found out, I had been building a case. He tried to spin it, tried to cry. He begged me to talk about this, to think of the kids. But I was thinking of the kids. They deserved a mother who didn't settle for betrayal. They deserved a father who couldn't lie and escape without consequences. And I wasn't stopping there. I filed the divorce papers the next day with a detailed financial motion that froze every account he could touch. I exposed his infidelity in the filings. With irrefutable evidence, the judge was not amused. He was removed from our home with a court order. Temporary custody was awarded. To me, child support and alimony were set pending final ruling. His house of lies collapsed faster than he could rebuild it. The mortgage for the new house, denied. His mistress? She ghosted him the minute the legal drama started. Probably realized she was just a chapter in his pattern, not the prize he promised she'd be. And the business? Well, thanks to my careful documentation, I was granted a controlling share. He tried to fight it. He lost. The client stayed, with me. And when all was said and done, when the divorce was finalized and the dust finally settled, I didn't throw a party. I just sat alone on my porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun rise over a quiet, peaceful morning. I had been through hell, but I had walked through the fire and emerged whole. Stronger, smarter, unshakable. Thought I was weak, that I'd collapse, but I didn't collapse. I calculated. I rebuilt. I rose. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And in the end, karma didn't need to find him, because I was karma.